And now it's time for Photo Booth Live Chat with John Young. All right. Hey, we are live here on PBN TV. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you are tuning in after the live stream, hey, it's just about there we go. If you are joining us after this was live streamed, this is live streamed at 8 o'clock on Monday night, October 28th, I believe it is. We're going to just kind of chat a little bit, share some of the stories that I've heard, and some of you can come on and share. In the chat, there should be the Zoom link for the where I'm at tonight. You guys can jump in there and join me on camera, and we can talk a little bit about your experience of how you got started in the photo booth business. This is kind of an interesting area compared to photography or DJ or wedding coordination of how people typically got started in this. First off, it's a little bit younger in some ways entity in the wedding industry, and for some people it was their first sojourn into the wedding world, and for some it has been a transitional phase. So we want to talk a little bit about that in on tonight's show here. So if you want to jump in and be part of that, you're more than welcome to jump in and join me here tonight. I'm just kind of setting up a couple of our shots and such so that we will be ready when that time comes. Just to give you guys a little update, if you have been kind of following along, the Photo Booth Expo is coming up here in February. That is the biggest industry event pretty much out there for the mobile event. There are going to be more people in Las Vegas February 24th through the 27th than you can shake a stick at. This particular year, I've been working with the Photo Booth Expo to bring a DJ track into it. That's been my background in the past, is creating educational content for mobile DJs. So there's going to be a DJ track. There's going to be a photo booth track. And these are two separate tracks on Monday and Tuesday. There's going to be separate training that is specific to those areas. Then on Wednesday, what's going to be happening is that the two are going to come together, because the sessions on Wednesday are more social media and making sales. And that will be kind of more, that'll fit really any photographers, photo booth operators, or mobile entertainers of any sort. So that's kind of the plan. Right now, the tickets until Wednesday night at midnight, Thursday morning at 12, whatever, the tickets are at their best price that they're going to be now. If you want to go out to we're at pbntv.com/tickets. That will get you there. Or you can go to the photoboothexpo.com, photoboothexpo.com, and you'll see the spot to get the tickets. You got to use promo code PBXSHOW, PBXSHOW 2020, and that will get you this year's best price. It's going to be going up Thursday, November 1st. The price will be going up on the tickets, and that's on the photo booth and the DJ side. They're going to be going up on Thursday morning. So if you want to go and check that out and get in on the event, you're good to go. They're also going to have, if I'm not exactly sure if they have that or not, actually I'm going to just kind of check that as we're going here. So we can, I want to just check and see. So pbntv.com/tickets. See, I can even use my own URL here. I want to see if the upgrade is there. Because some people have asked, they've seen the DJ schedule, and we've got some really cool content also available for that. Okay, so it isn't there yet, and that will be coming up. As for those of you who've already purchased your key pass for the Photo Booth Expo, and you want to go and you want to be able to go to either session, the DJ side is more expensive than the photo booth side. So there is going to be an upgrade ticket available for those of you who bought your photo booth tickets early. If you bought your Photo Booth 2020 at the 2019 show, you scored. You've got the cheapest tickets that were available. And then there is... I'm live stream. It's live streaming everywhere. It's out on Facebook and out on YouTube and such. I just have to get over to Facebook. But you guys scored if you bought your tickets early. There's no question about it. That is the best time to buy the next year's passes at this year's show type of thing. So if you bought that pass, you can upgrade that pass to give you full access to both rooms, which would mean that you can be in this session in the photo booth side, you can go over to the DJ side and catch the session over there. If you already bought the DJ pass, that's going to get you into both tracks. No matter which track you're going to, it'll get you into that. So just to give you a little heads up. Why the difference in prices is that there's a lot more content and such that's in the DJ side than there is on the photo booth side. We've got... I think we have almost 20 some speakers that are coming in on the DJ side, so there is a little bit different pricing on that. So I'm just trying to want to make sure that our live show is going on PBN TV. Yes, it is. It is available out there on YouTube. So that's going to be available. The upgrade, if you've already bought your pass, they're going to be sending out a link so you can have the opportunity to upgrade if you so choose. Great content either way. I mean, it's if you're more into the DJ, there's some great stuff there. If you're into the photo booth thing, there's incredible things that they've been putting together for that track of it. And if you are wondering, should you upgrade to go across the hall? It's really depending upon looking at the schedules and seeing if there's things in there that are appealing to you. Either way, you're going to be getting the exhibit hall. The exhibit hall is probably the coolest part of the show. I love education. I love networking. But when you can go into that exhibit hall and see the cool things that are in there, it's just like walking into a toy store. I mean, it was like taking my children into Toys R Us when they did exist here in Minnesota. So that's coming up February 24th through the 27th. They're going to be getting more of the information on. You can go to the Photo Booth Expo website, and you're starting to see some of the announcements of some of the speakers. I've actually been able to interview some of the speakers. Last week, I talked to Catalina, and that is one intelligent business owner. Oh my goodness gracious. Catalina was absolutely fabulous with information and knowledge. For those of you who are going to get to sit in it, she's doing 2 seminars in Vegas, and I'm over here planning the DJ side. I'm thinking that might be a seminar that pop over to go catch Catalina's presentation, because very, very savvy business mind there. It was a pleasure to be able to converse and talk about business. And as much as I love the live show, most of the really cool stuff we talked about before and after. So yeah, Moya, if it's going to be one of those situations, you got the $79 key pass. Oh, you scored. So you can decide if you want to upgrade to go to the DJ side, or you've got your $79 pass that's going to get you into the photo booth and the exhibit hall. For those of you who are like, I'm not into education, you can go and just get the exhibit pass, which is a $50 pass, and that will get you into the exhibit hall and such. And it's going to allow you to be in the hallway. It's going to be able to take advantage of sales that are going on and buy your props and buy a new photo booth, whatever, learning in the exhibit hall. But it's going to allow you to really be able to network in the hallway. And there's a lot of value to that. And as much as I'd love to say everyone should go out and buy a pass and we should have 10,000 passes sold, I get that. Not everyone is a sit-down learner. That some people learn better by looking at each other and talking to each other in the hallway, or maybe going over and grabbing a Steak and Shake shake because they're half price in the afternoon. Got to check that out. Steak and Shake, that there's different types of learners out there, and you got to do what's in your best interest that's going to give you the most value. That might mean you're in the hallway talking to people, asking questions, sharing some different things. Once again, in a situation like this, you want to be asking more questions than you're sharing to a point, because you can learn more by listening than you can by talking. Although there are times where you can learn by sharing different things and getting some feedback and thoughts on that. So a couple of things. The big thing I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit here is One of the things that people think about when it comes to the wedding industry, the reason why we got into it. For a lot of us, when we got into the wedding industry, probably the most common story I hear is from coordinators and from entertainers and photographers and videographers, is that they had a situation where they were either it was their own wedding or a friend's wedding or something to that effect, where they were involved with a wedding and there was a bad experience with a vendor. That probably has brought more people to that particular segment of the industry. In our own particular area here, there's 4 different coordinators that have come and gone here in the last 2 years. And when I see one pop onto the radar, I like to reach out and say, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to find out a little bit more about you because I have people coming to me, and there's times where I don't have the enough time to give them that level of service a coordinator does. So I would like to recommend someone to them. And I have done that over the years. I've got one coordinator that I have recommended numerous times. Most coordinators in our market don't stick around too long because we're kind of in rural Minnesota. These 4 that came in, all 4 of them had experiences with either their sister's wedding or their own personal wedding that were a bomb, and they felt that they needed to have that person. You hear this with photographers. Oh, I have an eye for taking pictures, and I'm passionate about pictures, but for my wedding, I didn't hire someone that was really good. And you know what? I'm going to offer an inexpensive photography service so that brides can afford a professional who's got their best interest at heart. Common story. I've heard that one. Entertainers, DJs, hey, the DJ at my sister's wedding sucked. I can do better than that. And they go out and buy gear, and then they're doing the DJ thing. Videographers, the videographer, true story from this one, the videographer 3 or 4 years ago was using 8mm tape yet. He was using the old things, and he had to transfer things over, and he ended up losing some stuff. How in the world you could even find 8mm stuff? But this was his story, and he went and he came back in with just using some digital, my little digital camcorders, a little Sony, the R50 type thing, a little thing. That's what he went to. He went and he had 8 of them, and he was using 8 of them at every event, setting up angles and cameras and just letting them sit and running pretty much all night long. And then he takes off. But his story was one of once again, a disappointment within the industry and thinking I can do better. Here's where the photo booth is a little bit different. With the photo booth world, it's generally, because it's new, we haven't seen, and yes, there are some stories out there of some really bad photo booths, but most of the people who have gotten into it, it isn't so much because they've seen really bad photo booths and now they're going to jump into it. While that's starting to come around, most people who jumped into it are getting into it because they came in from the photography side and they saw that, maybe an unmanned version where I can make some money off this could be potentially a business addition to my company. Or they've had situations where they were just having staff, and they're like, well, what could I do? They helped me set up. What could we do? We could add something to do. They're looking, it's probably brought in more often than not as the financial side of it. It wasn't so much there was a disappointment that drove the thing. It was I think there's money to be made here, which was a really cool thing, especially early on, as Mike Walter talked about a couple of weeks ago with me, is early on, they were able to charge a much healthier fee than you can in many situations today because it was something new, it wasn't out there, but they added it for the financial reasons, which because of it being a bigger financial return on that at that time, they were investing in large $8,000 to $10,000 to $12,000 photo booths to really create an atmosphere. The enclosed photo booth, the big early ones that we saw the very first time I went to Photo Booth Expo, I saw some things there I had never imagined. These big sweeping display booths that you go into and it almost transformed you into a completely different world. That was, for me, a completely new experience. For our market, it was a completely new experience. And a couple of my friends jumped on that wagon and they offered that. It wasn't because of disappointment in what was there. It was because it was a revenue stream. And it's interesting how that revenue stream situation has moved from a time where it was higher dollar and a better return, but a higher investment. And how that's kind of progressed now where there is a lower investment to get in and have something. And the way that has just kind of, I don't want to say it has scaled down to a point, but it's really developed bug, seriously. Asian beetle, sorry. but it's really kind of gotten to a point now where there is more of a range than there was before. Early on, you really had the $800 to $2,000 was common because the things were just so expensive to get into, and the people who were doing it as a business investment. Now, in some cases, you will find people, and the last 2 years of walking around Photo Booth Expo, and I spent a lot of time talking to a lot of you guys, is you're finding people who are doing this in some cases as a lifeline for their business. They're still doing it for monetary reasons as opposed to the disappointment of seeing bad experiences, but now they're looking at it as a lifeline for their business. And I've talked to a couple of people who have, even Catalina last weekend when she was talking, is that she had one type of business. They started their photo booth business and they put in a lot of customization and creativity into it. And now that's become their business, and they've just kind of gotten rid of everything else. And this is what they do. And that's really the kind of cool thing about the photo booth world, is that story comes through in many people. I know a lot of DJs because of my background, and there's many DJs who were getting to be my age. We're in our 50s, early 50s now. And they're like, I could add this. And they added it. And I find out that, wait a second, I can be still the fun, hip, cool photo booth attendant who's engaging the audience, creating some fun. I can be creative and doing some really neat things, and everyone still loves me. Compared to, I get in the mid 50s and 60s, am I going to still be the fun party DJ that everyone's going to want to hire? Maybe, maybe not. They got into it because of a business, and now they're finding out that the photo booth business can be lucrative enough where it can take them to places that they didn't think they could go before. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy of how this is so much different in so many ways than the other aspects of the wedding industry, and yet it fits in with so many different aspects of it. It fits in with the DJ. It fits in with venues that are offering photo booth and coordinators and photographers and videographers. Really across the board, it can be one of these additions that almost anyone can add to their current business. Or if you really want to, you can create, if your market isn't saturated, you can actually go out and start from scratch, and you could start a photo booth company and get things going and get things up and running fairly quickly. I'm going to just put that Zoom link right out there again. So thank you guys for being with tonight and kind of hanging out with me. We just want to talk a little bit about some of the behind or the motivation behind people getting into the photo booth business. And I want to dig into that side of the financial side of it a little bit, because I had mentioned a few minutes ago that when I'm talking to a lot of people, there's a lot of people who are struggling with their daily business, their regular business. One actually, it was speaking of a different angle, a florist. He and his wife had a floral shop, and they were doing wonderfully for a number of years. And then the local a major grocery chain came into their area, and the grocery chain offered flowers. Are they at the same quality? Probably not. Are they going to be as nice and last as long? Probably not. Are they going to be doing it with the love and that the husband and wife team? Probably not. Are they cheaper? Oh yeah, much cheaper, because they're a chain, and this is one of 10 stores in the vicinity. So they took a lot of business away from their floral business. So they came down, and here they are at the Photo Booth Expo, and they're like, we're looking to see if this is something that we should really legitimately do. And they were sitting there. What caught my eye is they've got this notebook, and they're jotting notes down, and they're putting numbers in just about as fast as you could. So they're okay. So if we invest in this booth, it's going to cost us an investment of $8,000. So for this to go, they had already done the math on the other side, so they know that an $8,000 booth, we have to book it this many times at this rate to get a return, and to make it worth our time, we have to be able to do these things. Can we look at that booth and say, yes, people are going to get excited enough to book it X number of times? They went through booth after booth after booth. A couple of them, as I was talking to them, and I asked, it's like, well, what did you think of that one? What did you think of that one? What did you think of the mirror one? What did you think of the one that's more of a selfie one? What did you think? And they went through, and they had just an incredible grasp of what was there and what their market they thought they could swing in their market for reselling of that service. This one, it was I'm So our first thing we always want to jump to is the cheaper is probably the better, or we can make the cheaper work the best. That was the interesting part of their discussion, is that they went through and they looked at the $1,000 selfie booth. There was $1,000 selfie stands there. And then you add the iPad, and then you basically have this little social media photo booth. They were looking at that and thinking that at their numbers and the way they put it together, yes, they could get into it, and yes, it was the cheapest option to get into at that particular moment. But they did not think that they could sell that particular well enough or enough times in their market. And the biggest reason they felt this way is because their floral shop was kind of known as almost a boutique floral shop where they had beautiful, semi-unusual arrangements. And they felt that if they went into something like a selfie booth idea, that little podium, the iPad podium, that they were going to have a situation where this wasn't going to fit their other brand, and they wouldn't be comfortable selling this. Whereas they felt that they could take these $5,000 and $8,000 booths that were more creative and more unique and give you a different experience. They felt that they could really buy a couple of those and put that into their business, and that they could turn around and sell that confidently and be able to make money with that. And I think that's probably one of the biggest parts of us as salespeople, especially selling in the wedding world, is that if we can't sell something that we believe in and sell something that we feel confident in selling, that we know that this can give you the results you want, I think that's where we sometimes really fall apart in that realm. Some people today were talking, there was this great thread that someone shared about he was talking to a client, potential client, and the potential client asked the question of, so when someone doesn't book you, why don't they book you? And of course, the immediate thing we always jump to is that, well, obviously my price was too high. Well, okay, if my price was too high, it's probably because I didn't describe or didn't show my value to them as a service. I didn't show them how relaxed their day is going to be because of my coordination of the day and how we're going to plan everything out, and I will be there to be the director of the day. The value thing is what people jump to. And it's one of those situations, though, that I think more often than not, it's more of the connection wasn't there. It might be because me as the business owner trying to sell something, if I'm trying to sell something that I don't believe in and that I wouldn't buy, I'm probably not going to be very effective at selling that service. But if I'm selling something that I truly believe in, and I know that what I'm trying to sell is going to be able to fit and help your situation, that changes the dynamics, because now I can talk passionately and I can talk to the emotional side of your situation, and to be able to help draw the pictures and show how my solution to your situation is going to be incredibly valuable to you. It's not me selling value. It's me conveying that passion of having the right pieces to make your day go the way you want it to go. And I think that sometimes when we're running a business, we look at that little selfie booth and say, it's cheap. I think I can turn a profit on that because it's cheap. But what happens if everything else in your company is a specific, creating an image and an entity and a brand, and that's what you're used to selling. You're used to selling the boutique service. You're used to selling the white glove level of customer service. And then all of a sudden you're adding something just to add something. I think that's one of the things we sometimes do. And I want to, go back to that husband and wife who were the florists. They, and applaud them. First off, they had a business plan going in before, which is sometimes really difficult if you've never done a business plan. They can be very elaborate and very quick and easy if you do an executive version, but you've got to have something. They had that in advance going in there, and then they could put the numbers into that aspect of it and see if it made sense for them. And it was a fabulous example. And after the fact, I wish I would have gotten their card. And I know they're not going to watch because they're probably not in the photo booth world here, because they're probably doing something in their floral area. But it would have been great to talk to them 4 months after and say, hey, what did you really end up going with? Did it make sense? And where are you at financially? Have you turned a profit? I mean, there's many people who tell the story of having a photo booth business, and they start and they buy one and they start booking it. And then they go to an event and they start handing out cards, and then they book, one turns into 5 bookings, which turn into 20 bookings. And then the next thing you know, they're adding a second one. And then before long, they're adding it just kind of goes crazy. That happens, and that would have been so much fun to be able to reach out to them one more time and say, hey, how did that work? How did it all turn out? And then to get advice from how they did it for those of you who are like new to it or getting into it, and you're like, I want to do this and do this right. Yeah, that idea of having the numbers and knowing where you are and what you want to do with it. I can just envision that they have got their budget all set up for what they're going to buy and how they're going to buy it, how they're going to pay for it, and how much they're going to charge for it, and how all these expenses that are involved with running that business. And then they probably have another line item that is, this is the money that we're going to set aside so we can go to Photo Booth Expo 2020 and hang out down there and learn more about this craft. That's if they went that way, of course. If they decided that the photo booth wasn't for them, which was kind of a cool thing, that they were like, we're here to judge it. If we don't think it, we're not going to waste our money. They were going to invest for research and go from there. I kind of think they did, but I can't say for sure without actually talking to them. So that's pretty much what I wanted to hit on a little bit tonight, just to give you an idea that the photo booth is a different entity, a different industry than any of the others. It's kind of an offshoot of them. People get into it for, in many cases, a much different reason than they got into their first business, whether it was the photographer, videographer, what have you. Everyone's got a different story. Everyone's got a variation of why they got into it, whether it was the disappointment, it was the excitement of it. I've always wanted to be that. Yeah, there's different stories. And that's something that when you guys come into Photo Booth Expo in February, that's the time to share these things in the hallway, because those little stories of what got us into it, sometimes we need to be brought back to those moments. Why did I get into photography? Why do I love to take pictures for the newspaper? It's because I got a camera when I was younger, and I enjoyed taking those pictures and having people say, that's a cool perspective. I never would. You're seeing it from a completely different idea in a different way than what I saw, the same exact thing. And that was always some kind of this motivation for me. And it became something that I take a lot of the pictures that you see in the paper and take the creative ones. Those, well, not, you guys don't see in our paper. This is our local newspaper. But that was what got me into that, is that passion to be able to tell a story with pictures and to be able to do it from a unique perspective that people will say, that's kind of cool. I wouldn't have thought about taking that picture that way. Well, thank you guys for being with tonight. And if you've watched the whole thing, I definitely appreciate that. Remember, Photo Booth Expo is coming up in February 24th through the 27th. Go out to photoboothexpo.com. PBX Show 2020 will get you there, and you guys can go and get your passes. They go up November 1st. So get them this week, and I will see you in Las Vegas. Thanks again.